I speak a lot about this shame, like this feeling of shame in just how we are and how we're wired. And, it rubs people or it's frustrating or whatever that might be. The role itself and that tendency, we need that visionary energy. We need that person that's just writing. Like they're just writing it, jumbling it out. Like that's where magic truly comes and is infused in that innovation to grow and that driver. And there's no shame in that. Without
Yeah.
that, things would just stay the same or die,
Yeah. Look,
So,
I think it's
yeah,
super important to have people around you that allow for you to be the
yes.
creative person that you need to be. Welcome to Spaghetti on the Wall, where we throw ideas, see what sticks, and nurture those that do. I'm your host, Armando, an actor, entrepreneur, and coach, giving you insights that light up your world. We're here to explore the realms of business, marketing, and life, serving up a shot of inspiration with every episode. Ready to make ideas stick and grow them into something great? Let's dive in. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on when you are listening to this podcast. Spaghetti on the Wall, back with another one. Jill Simonds. What is up? Do you like that?
Yeah, I
I
love
try to give
that.
everybody the applause. It makes you feel good. It starts off with a good note. Jill Simonds, I had the pleasure of meeting through a visionary experience called the Visionary Forum. It's a group of visionaries that meet on a bi-monthly basis, and then we also have the Visionary Summit where people get to come in and it's a place where weirdos like visionaries can feel okay about being who they are. And it was so funny because I lived in shame, and I've told this story many times, but I was always made to feel shame for thinking and operating the way that I did. And when I
Mhm.
found this group of people, I was just like, oh my God, there's other people like me. This is great. It was awesome. And so, love the Visionary Summit, love the forum, Jill Simonds. Uh, we're going to get into all of the things that you do.
Yeah,
But I just
great.
give me a 2 minute backdrop on where you are from. How did you get to where you are today?
Yeah. Where I am from, well, physically from Colorado, born native of the beautiful state of Colorado. My background, kind of going through the whole experience of college, and this is just the steps you take, and you get a degree. And when you get a degree, we're under the belief then that the rest of our life happens from there. We have it all figured out, right? And we're ready to be a grown up and know exactly what we want to be when we grow up. And that wasn't necessarily my path, even though I was very studious and involved in school, very academically driven, and studied through college, and landed in the marketing world. Different than what I realized was the path for me. So my background was in marketing, both direct to consumer and B2B industries, and ended up then, of course, in the corporate world first and foremost. So that's where a lot of my journey started in terms of expertise and learning, and of course, an amazing vehicle, regardless, to learn the skill sets and learn who I was, right? Through that journey and learning that that wasn't the best fit for me. I started developing businesses on my own as an entrepreneur and service-based businesses, photography business and e-commerce business over the years,
Mhm.
and consulting. So bored of the corporate world and the pace, I think. I constantly was consulting with businesses, their marketing, their operations, business development, and growth on the side of full-time careers for much of my career. So that kind of lent its hand to me, this experience of kind of this fractional environment and being able to have an impact on more than one business entity alone, and being able to transfer that knowledge and experience and expertise gained across multiple industries and different problems they were facing, and really be able to apply that on a level that was bringing value because of the fact that I was working across multiple businesses facing several different issues. So that's kind of what initially started the background in that. And then as a COO, serving businesses fractionally, I started seeing this recurring pattern where visionary leaders were constantly overwhelmed. They're stuck in the weeds of the day to day in their business. They're struggling to scale their businesses in a way that aligns with who they are, their core values, and the long-term goals of the business. And as a COO, I was constantly hiring, recruiting, building this leadership team on a repeatable basis, right? Constantly recruiting to serve the clients and other leadership functions of the business.
Mhm.
And that's where Savvy was born, and the firm of us of expertise and a bench of leaders to spread their expertise and dive in and execute according to this vision in a shared collaborative effort without having to repeat that cycle each time of finding and recruiting that new talent. I've I'm proud of, who I've been able to find and work with, that I wanted to repeat that success and bring that value
That's
with a team.
amazing. I always
Yeah.
tell my clients about A players, right? And sometimes,
Hmm.
sometimes you can't afford to bring in an A player to work full time at, you know,
Right.
6-figure salary, right? And so
Right.
how can we find the A players that can help us move the needle forward from in that leadership role in order for us to get where we want to go, right? And I think that
Hmm.
there's luckily businesses like you out there that can help bridge that gap until you can find until you can find the right person to bring in full time, right? Because it
Right.
really is all about the revenue, right? And
Hmm.
so if you don't have the revenue right now in order to hire somebody full time, then reach out to somebody like Jill and find those A players, because A players are going to get you to the next level. It was one of the things
Absolutely.
that when I made my first A player hire, I noticed the growth in my business like immediately.
Right.
And I think that we we try to save and skimp and
Hmm.
sort of piecemeal those roles, which is not necessarily something that we need to be piecemealing and skimping
Right.
on, right?
Right.
So
Absolutely.
who are the different types of people that you guys help?
Yeah, the types of people that we help are those visionary founders, leaders, business owners that, like I mentioned, they're stuck in the mire of the day to day often, and tethered by, solving of the problems and not having this resource in A players on their team that can come with a new perspective, come with the expertise and the experience and background to to solve for the issues in the business that they're facing, that they're constantly solving. The fundamental issue is typically a lack of leadership and a lack of trust. So, and those A players not being present to really elevate that visionary owner and leader to focus on the growth of the business.
Mm.
So, yeah, they're mired in the day to day, or overwhelmed, or just frustrated. Oftentimes, we're facing a lack of or a frustration because of the lack of execution. We see kind of, this is what should be happening, and why isn't it happening, and what more do they need? Just being able to have those A players on the team, to bring that unique ability that the visionary doesn't necessarily have, to really
Mm.
bring that follow through and that execution of what their vision entails and make it come to life. You need those right players on your bench. You need those types of people that can, to bring those visions to life, that can see it, understand it, and be able to execute.
I love it. So part of the
Hmm.
reason why I have a podcast is so that I can be selfish and get my own problem solved.
Hmm.
So I do that on my podcast often.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm going to talk about my problems, and
Okay.
I'm going to, get some of your expertise and try to figure out how we can solve that. So with your expertise, with your background, a big problem that I have is, and probably a lot of visionaries have, is we have a lot of ideas.
Hmm.
And then sometimes the ideas are the same idea, just verbalized differently, right? Like maybe we've
Hmm.
already had this idea or a solution to this idea, but we named it something else. And now we don't necessarily know where we put it, or we don't necessarily know whether an idea that we have, we believe it to be like, oh my God, this is going to be the solution to the problem, right?
Hmm.
And it may not
Hmm.
be, right? Like,
Yeah.
and so how do you navigate with a visionary like myself where you have like, you get thrown all of these ideas and you're like, okay, before we, dive into everything, like, what's the methodology in terms of like curating, purging, marrying these ideas
Yeah.
to make sure that the ones that we should be focusing on are the ones that we stay focused on.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, a system, right? Systematizing is, and success loves discipline, right? I think of that often, and contrary to our belief, I think as visionaries, this structure can feel limiting. Structure and prioritization and being organized and getting our ducks in a row and then talking about it feels constricting. It feels contrary to like what our natural tendency is, just like, blah, here's all the things we want to do and it's not fast enough and I wanted it yesterday. So I constantly remind visionaries that the structure is what allows us to truly filter things from a mindset of clarity, from a perspective of what is truly going to move the needle, what is truly going to provide the most value, and if it's a shiny object or not, how do we put this through some sort of filter to prioritize? And maybe it's not a no. It's not necessarily a no, we can't do this, or it's a matter of when. What do we need to adjust? What, in our capacity and resources in the team needs to be planned and adjusted in order to make something that's of higher priority or potential, opportunity that we need to do now. What do we need to do to adjust for that and to do it well and to get it off and running? So a system, EOS, the entrepreneurial operating system, that's what we bring as foundation in terms of operating system to the clients that we serve. And implementing that into the business gives them the structure and the management of human energy and where our energy goes. So when we operate through that structure and allow for that space and create that space for ideas to be shared, to be captured, to be discussed and iterated with the team,
Mm-hmm.
we're looking at them in comparison to this larger vision. We're looking at them in perspective of this grander view of where we're going. Does this align with where we're going? How does it help solve this or that? And really discussing it and bringing it to the table as a team to solve through, and get some of that perspective. So it really is just a matter of that structure allows us to prioritize not if this happens, but maybe when, and what's going to be the most important for us to focus on right now, because we've got this, collective of human energy and all this time being spent in these areas in the business and problems we need to solve for and things we're doing to make it better, projects that we're working on already, allowing us to capture it and put it through that prioritization of where it's going to fit and how we can do it the best we possibly can, and the whole team know where that aligns with the vision and the entire team being aligned with what that implies and fitting that in and where it's going to fit.
So we use Bloom Growth, which is, a version of EOS. They call
Mm-hmm.
it different things, whatever.
Yeah.
I think the semantics of it is just funny. We don't call it rocks, we call it goals. All right, whatever.
Yeah.
I think it's funny.
Whatever we
But
call it.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so when I go in and it gets overwhelming to me, right? Because like you have your L10 meeting, the leadership meeting, but then in Bloom Growth and with like 90.io too, right? Like you have an opportunity to create meetings that are department specific, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then the department specific meetings also have like rocks, right? Or goals. And so then I find myself as a visionary rolling into, like, I have ideas for marketing, I have ideas for production, I have ideas for post-production, I have ideas for distribution, I have ideas, all of these things, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so I feel like I'm overwhelming my staff with ideas, and I don't want to do that, right? Like, I want to make sure that, like, I am keeping things separate, but I don't want to let some ideas just go, because I think they might be good ideas. They just need to be kind of
Mm-hmm.
talked through and go, oh, okay, this is not necessarily something that I need to, like, think about right now. So my question is, do I find somebody like you that is like the first line of defense against, against putting these things into the O and O's, or IDSs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where people can see it, and then all of a sudden this,
Yeah.
this marketing meeting starts to go for like 2 hours because I have like a ton of, opportunities and ideas, right? So should I be filtering that through a person first, and then them go, okay, yeah, this is probably something that we can talk about in the meeting? How does that work?
Hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, that's a good question. I was going to say, as you're talking about that being a frustration point or worry about how you're, overwhelming the team and not wanting to lose sight of anything or execute on ideas, but where does it go without it, completely scaring the team away or, pushing your idea back? So I was thinking you probably need an integrator. And so I would say yes to that, for the fact that, as a visionary, you have a role to play. Like, it's not just this mindset and mentality, traits, tendencies, and characteristics of a visionary. It is a role in the business with its own accountabilities, with its own seat designated in the organization, as being the one with the multitude of ideas, opportunities, looking future casting and looking out. And so when you don't have that filter, that counterpart and partner in the business that is capturing that and executing, right? Building the harmony within the team to execute effectively and to manage the human energy in the company with where the focus is, then you're doing both. You're trying to do both, right? And that's a very common place for visionaries, is operating both of those modes. And one is typically stronger than the other, and one is typically a point of frustration, either for yourself or for the entire team. So that integrator is that counterpart, that filter, that bridge in between. These are the wild visionary ideas. This is, the future of the business, large opportunities that we're going after, or it could be small, intricate ways of improving things along the way too. But how do we manage that in the modality and the working environment of the rest of the team in a way that doesn't cause chaos?
Yeah.
And that integrator is that chaos wrangler, that one that can manage, and sit in between. Like, I know the needs of the people and how we stay organized and effective, and I know how fast we need to be going and what's priority. So managing that in a way that doesn't cause the team to create complete chaos or confusion or
So you're
those things.
so basically the integrator, and I just had this epiphany because, so I'm a writer too, right? Like, so,
Mm-hmm.
I've written screenplays, and they always talk about, you can't write the story and edit it at the same time, right? And
Mm,
so basically your job as a creative, or your job as a visionary, because it's the creative seat, right? Is
yep.
to is to create the creative vision, create the vision, have the ideas, and then have someone there as the editor that has the discernment to go, this is
Yeah.
important, this is not important, this is important, this is not important, we can move there, we don't have to move here. And
Mm,
using the editor to go, okay, we have what we need now, now we can take action, because
yeah.
they filtered it in a way where they understand how to tell the constituents what they need to be doing
Yeah.
in order
Great.
to make it happen.
I
Like,
love that.
what a good epiphany and analogy. Thank you for that. Cause like
Yeah.
now I can like think about it, not in terms of, once again, trying to shame myself into not being who I am, because I can't.
Right.
I have to be who I am. but creating tools and having not the how, but the who, right,
Yes.
in the right seat in order for them to grab the gold. Like that's pretty much what the integrator is, right? They're the gold. Oh boy, like when you're going for gold, what do they call that? Not siphoning.
Harnessing
Not har-
or,
what, you know,
um,
not digging. Like when you
oh yeah,
go
like,
searching for gold, you know what I mean? Like it's a term. I can't think of it right now. Anyway, but that's what the
I think it's
integrators.
siphoning, like the
Yeah,
little
could be.
tray and
Yeah, it's like
all the
a
crap falls through, but then you
yes.
keep the gold at the top.
Yes, and that's what they're doing, right? It's all like, all right, this is
Yeah.
a bunch. And look,
Yeah.
I'm not too proud to understand that my
Hmm.
all of my ideas are amazing. Like they're not, right? Obviously, I have like 40 an hour, and
Yeah.
so for not all 40 can be amazing, but if you can have the right person, the right integrator, the right second in command in place and they can help you filter out these ideas, I
Hmm.
think you're free to be who you are, stay in that creative space without having to edit yourself at the same time or
Yes.
find that time
Yeah.
to like, maybe edit it. But I also find that when I am talking to somebody like you about my ideas,
Hmm.
that sometimes just the verbalizing makes me realize that it wasn't, it was half baked when it came out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right. And sometimes they will, and sometimes even the half-baked ones are like, oh, there's something here.
Yeah.
But at least talking through it, and having somebody else's perspective and knowing that, yeah, I love how you said that in terms of, the editing and being that bridge really in terms of kind of siphoning.
Yeah.
It's going, the integrator sees through to the end in terms of what that's going to apply to the team and how it all fits together and how it's going to be orchestrated and harmonized together with the team. And so that perspective, I think it can make the difference in whether you move forward with something then or if it's later or if it's a dumb idea, that I think a lot of times we need that.
Yeah.
So yeah, but you
100%.
need to be free in your zone, right? The visionary is needed. And I I speak a lot about this shame, like this feeling of shame in just how we are and how we're wired, and it rubs people or it's frustrating or whatever that might be. The role itself and that tendency, we need that visionary energy. We need that person that's just writing. Like they're just writing it, jumbling it out. Like that's where magic truly comes and is infused, and that innovation to grow and that driver. And there's no shame in that. Without
Yeah.
that, things would just stay the same or die,
Yeah. Look,
So,
I think it's
yeah.
super important to have people around you that allow for you to be the
Yes.
creative person that you need to be. Um, there are so many people that just are going to crap on an idea before like
Hmm.
they heard it all the way through. And I love that my team at least listens to me. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
they're not ones that are all like, nope, 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 nope. You know what I mean? Like they're at least gonna
Sure.
listen. And like yesterday, I had this epiphany that I'm working with a company called Toast, right? And I was like, man, I said, Will, who's my creative director. I'm like,
Hmm.
here's an idea. He's like, all right, go ahead, hit me with it, And I'm like, this is what I'm thinking. This is how we're, going to create their podcast. This is what, and he was like, I love it. And not only that, I'm going to build on it. And so we created the intro, outro, da 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 da. And so we have a proof of
Hmm.
concept already done, right? And so it's that sort of environment that I really love to play in, because I've
Yeah.
I've also created this environment of sort of yes and I come from the
Mm.
improv world, right? Like we do,
Yeah.
I've done improv for years.
Hmm.
And the three rules of improv are make your partner look good, say yes and say the first thing that comes to your head, right? Which is like, trust your instincts, build on what people are talking about and let's build it together,
Hmm.
and feel and make the people around you make them feel like they're rock stars so that they're empowered
Yes.
to help build with you, you know? And so I like to try to bring that
Love
philosophy
that.
to everything that we do.
Absolutely.
So
Yes.
tell me about some of the stories of people that you guys have helped and what their transformations have been like as a result of
Mhm.
working with you guys.
Yeah, definitely the state A is, the visionary that's tied down, frustrated, really can't get past this mode in the business where everything is kind of dependent upon them. The founder is so in the day to day of the business, and the business can't really thrive or grow. Doesn't have the right people, the right team, and supports and structure uh, to to create that less founder dependency in the business. Right, it is
Mhm.
all on them, or they're stuck. They've been stagnant from a revenue standpoint, growth standpoint for sometimes years. Sometimes it's several years by the time they realize that if something doesn't change or the right people aren't on the bus and the right seats are created fundamentally to grow this business, it's going to stay the same. If we're not growing, we're dying.
Yeah.
So from that state, it is making sure the right people are on the team. Oftentimes, there's structure of leadership, but the leadership team is not at the caliber to help grow the business anymore. What got us here is not necessarily going to get us to the next level of growth.
Yeah.
And so sometimes that's where the real hard realizations come in. And we undergo people changes and make, some really difficult decisions to ensure that the right people are on the team and partnering in the business for what that next phase and level of business that company needs. And oftentimes too, it's missing structure. It's lacking any of the operational structure or systems to be able to prioritize effectively. So we come to the table with that system instantly, and that transformation in terms of alignment. We hear things like, gosh, like I didn't even know what the vision was. And even the owner, is like, oh, I didn't really have created any sort of documented, known, discussed, and communicated vision of where we're even going and what we're
Right.
even doing and what the goals are here.
Yeah.
So that clarity, alignment with the team that's there, then that's a part of that journey, that's the right people to take that business to the next level is transformational. They're less involved in the day to day after even, sometimes less than a couple months where they can actually breathe again.
Yeah.
We're told often, like, gosh, I could never step away. They'll go on, several of our clients over the last year have gone on month-long sabbaticals and traveling in Europe and being able to live the life and the lifestyle that they've been dreaming of doing, that, they didn't have the infrastructure in place to actually do it. So transformative, both from the business's growth, but my goal is ultimately that visionary, that leader, and that business owner. What are their ambitions, their goals, the life that they want to live,
Yeah.
and how do we create an environment, a team, and strength where they can do those things and they can operate independently of the value and the identity that they get from their business. Who are they outside of that, and what have they been putting off so long because they were tethered in the business and couldn't step away and didn't have the team they trusted?
Yeah. No, you're right. So how do people work with you?
Yeah, so we serve fractionally, fully fractional C-suite. We are that bridge to growth for a business and the expertise that it needs. We are not consultants. We're not an outside team. We are integrated in the business, right? So we are on the accountability chart in the team, whether it's a CMO, a COO, a CFO, sometimes have several direct reports depending on the structure of the business. We come in and fill that seat as a functional leader of that team to help that business grow. And sometimes these are long-term engagements, depending on the size of the business and the trajectory of growth that they want, that it's on, right? Businesses grow at varying degrees. So sometimes our engagements are several years or long term, and we're building up to the point where, if they want a business that's, scaled at this figure and eventually gets to needing a full-time role, then we are a part of that process and replacing ourselves. But usually at least 6 and 12-month engagements. And sometimes it's several of us serving within one organization and kind of bringing this full bench. And sometimes they may just need a CFO right now. They may just need a CMO. So it's flexible. It is really just based on where the business is and what their needs are.
That works. And how do they reach you?
Yeah, savvystrategicpartners.com. You could find me on LinkedIn as well, Jill Simonds. And we do have an assessment launched on the website as well, all for vision and value assessment. So understanding where your business stands, the strength of its vision, and how it's being executed, and then a full measure of the intangibles in the business and where you could place and understand where the business's value is today and how we can come in and to help grow that and to support the needs of the leadership team to do that.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
You guys really need to step it up. Find the people, the help that you need. Jill is helping us, so we absolutely endorse Jill with all of her offers on how to help you guys. Super quality person, and I really do appreciate you being here today.
Aw, thank you. Right back at you, Armando. Thank you.
100%.
This is so fun.
Of course.
Love it.
And that was Spaghetti on the Wall, brought to you by LeDuc Entertainment. For all of your video production needs, case study videos, video business cards, podcasting, we got you. Keep listening, keep watching, and we'll see y'all next time.